The rain hadn't yet begun to fall, but the skies above Southridge were already dark with the promise of a storm. Inside a tidy suburban two-bedroom home, Clara Vaughn steadied her hand as she poured herself a glass of red wine. She glanced at the clock on the kitchen wall. Only 23 minutes until Aaron, her husband of 5 years, would come home unaware of what she was about to tell him. Clara wasn't dressed the way she usually was on weeknights. Tonight, she had traded her yoga pants and oversized hoodie for a sleek emerald green blouse that hugged her in all the right places. Her makeup was elegant, understated, but sharp. She wasn't trying to entice Aaron tonight. She was aiming to disorient him. This evening had been carefully staged not for romance, but for confrontation. It had started subtly with quiet discontent. Over the past few months, her friend Monica, bold, blunt, and unapologetic, had been nudging her. "You've forgotten how it feels to be wanted." Monica had insisted over wine and whispered conversations. Marriage is only a prison if you let it be. A little spark outside the lines can bring your soul roaring back. Clara had dismissed the thought at first, even laughed. But as the days passed and Aaron continued to come home tired, drop his things on the couch, and barely glance at her, the seed had taken root. Was it fair? Maybe not. But fairness had stopped being enough. What she wanted now was energy, attention, proof that she was still seen. So she had planned the evening down to the smallest detail. Lasagna, his favorite, still in the oven. A chilled bottle of imported wine set in a silver bucket. Her hope was to keep him relaxed, comforted by the familiar, until she shattered it. Her phone buzzed with a message from Monica. "Tonight's the night. Be the fire, not the ashes. He'll either bend or burn." Clara swallowed the guilt rising in her throat with another sip of wine. This wasn't about hurting Aaron. This was about reclaiming something inside herself, or so she told herself. At 6:02, the front door creaked open. The sound of heavy boots echoed across the floor. Aaron stepped in, damp from the drizzle, a work bag over one shoulder. His eyes landed on the dinner table and widened. "Wow," he said, stopping. "Date night." Clara offered a tight smile. "Something like that." She handed him a glass of wine, which he accepted gratefully, though he gave her a searching look. "You okay?" "I will be," she replied, nodding toward the table. "Let's eat." They shared the meal in near silence. The food was warm, the mood far from it. Once she laid down her fork, Clara took a breath and met his gaze. "We need to talk." Aaron's posture stiffened. "Okay, what's going on?" "I need something," she said, her voice carefully controlled. "Not necessarily from you. From life. For me." He looked confused. "What does that mean?" "I've been feeling invisible. Not unloved, but like I faded into the background. Monica reminded me how short life is." He interrupted, his brow arching. "Monica? The same Monica who thinks Tinder solves everything." Clara pushed on. "So I've decided just for a couple months, I want to try something new." His face darkened. "What kind of new?" She hesitated, her throat tight. "I want to date other people." Aaron froze, wine glass halfway to his lips. "You're asking for a divorce?" "No," she said quickly. "I want to stay married. Just be open temporarily." He stared at her for a long time. No yelling, no drama, just silence. Then slowly he nodded. "So you want my permission to be unfaithful?" Clara flinched. "It's not about betrayal." "Don't sugarcoat it," he said, placing the glass down carefully. "Call it what it is." Her voice fell to a whisper. "I need this. For me." Aaron rose from the table, not angry, but something colder than anger passed across his face. "Then I'll sleep in the guest room tonight." "Wait," she stood. "You're not even going to talk to me about it?" "What's left to say?" His voice was calm, detached. "You've already made your decision." "I thought you might." "What?" "Compete." He let out a bitter laugh. "You want to set fire to the house and expect me to just stand in the smoke?" He turned without another word and walked down the hall. A door closed. Clara stood there, wine glass in hand, heart hammering. She had rehearsed a dozen versions of this night, but not this one. She expected shouting, maybe tears, not this eerie calm. And Aaron, he hadn't cried, hadn't protested, but something inside him had shifted, and not in a way she understood yet. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. The bed felt cavernous, the silence too loud. She told herself she should feel free, empowered, but the air around her was thick, pressing down with invisible weight. Still, by sunrise, the guilt had dulled, masked by adrenaline and Monica's words. He didn't react. That's a win. That means he's afraid to lose you. He'll come running back once he remembers how hot you are. Clara smiled into the bathroom mirror as she reapplied her lipstick. She wanted to believe Monica was right, that this was a rebirth, not a betrayal. At work, everything felt sharper, more alive. She wore a dress that had been buried in the back of her closet for years. People noticed. The whispers started by mid-morning. And then Eli, a consultant who always moved quietly, said little, sent her a message. You looked radiant in the hallway. Her fingers hovered. She could ignore it, be polite, or lean in. She typed, maybe I dressed up for you. His response came instantly. Then I'll take it as an invitation. And just like that, the spark caught. Drinks that night. Then again the night after. Before long, Clara was lying, not just to Aaron, but to herself. She was chasing something. Feeling seen, feeling wanted. Eli told her she was rare. Told her she was magnetic. She laughed more with him than she had in years. Back at home, Aaron said little. No arguments, no pleading, just distance. Clara mistook it for surrender. What she didn't see was that Aaron, who spent his days managing construction sites and reading blueprints, was quietly mapping her patterns instead. He noticed a change. Phone habits, the secretive texts, the longer showers, the way her eyes flicked to the door when a message came through. Clara believed his silence was weakness. But Aaron was crafting something far more deliberate than an argument. He was preparing a reaction. One afternoon, she came home early and found him in the garage, bent over wires and tools. He quickly shoved something into a box when she entered. Still working late out here? She asked, try and keep things light. Helps me think, he said, not looking up. She hesitated. You know this is only temporary, right? I'm not trying to destroy us. He finally met her eyes. You already have. She said nothing and turned to leave. The days continued. Her affair with Eli became riskier. One night, they met in the office parking lot. Another in the back of his car during a storm. She felt alive, beautiful, reborn. But not everyone around her was buying the fantasy. One morning, Vanessa, a co-worker she barely knew, stopped acknowledging her in the hallway. Later, Clara found a sticky note on her desk. Be careful. Would you like to continue the story from here? Clara ignored the creeping unease until Monica called, breathless and shaken. Something's happening, she said. I got a weird call. Someone's looking into us. Clara blinked. Looking into what? Everything. What we've been doing. Someone's been talking to HR. A sinking feeling hit Clara's gut. You think it's Aaron? You told me he was calm, Monica said. That's exactly who you should be afraid of. Later that night, Clara checked her laptop. A new folder had appeared on her desktop. Clara_personal. She opened it slowly, her pulse picking up. Inside were screenshots, message logs, GPS records, and a spreadsheet named encounters_confirmed.xlsx. Her lungs tightened. This wasn't petty snooping. It was precise, organized, cold. Someone had been watching her for weeks. Panicked, she deleted the folder, but the dread stayed. Aaron had known. He had everything. At 2:17 a.m., Clara crept down the hallway to the guest room. She knocked. Aaron? No answer. She opened the door. The bed was untouched. His truck was gone. No clothes were missing, nothing packed. He had simply vanished. Clara stood in the quiet house, her phone in hand, fear rising like smoke in her throat. She'd started the fire, but Aaron had walked away with the fuel. She didn't hear from him for 2 days. No calls, no texts, no signs of him anywhere. The house felt cavernous, the silence pressing against her. Sleep became a shallow, restless cycle. She kept telling herself he'd come back. He always did. Aaron loved structure. He clung to it. But this time felt different. On the third day, a letter arrived. Hand-delivered, no stamp, no return address. Clara opened it on the kitchen counter, her hands trembling. Clara, I won't stop you. But remember, freedom isn't free. Pay attention. She read it again and again. It made no sense. Monica didn't return her calls. Neither did Eli. Her messages went unread. She refreshed her social apps again and again. Nothing. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She hesitated. Picked up. Mrs. Vaughn? A deep voice said, "Yes." "This is Officer Tabella with Southridge PD. We receive a report regarding your vehicle. It was found abandoned near Hillside Creek." Clara froze. "That's not possible. My car is in the garage." "Ma'am, I'm referring to your husband's truck. He isn't missing. We spoke with him yesterday. He asked us to inform you that all assets tied to your name and marital estate are being transferred. He's also filed a protective order." Her knees buckled. "A protection order?" "You'll need to speak with your attorney before 3 p.m., ma'am. That's all I can say." Her phone buzzed again and again. Notifications. Mentions. She opened one message and stopped breathing. A video posted anonymously to her company's Slack channel was circulating, meant for internal review. Someone had forwarded it beyond that. In it, a dim room, her voice, her laugh, a man, Eli, her own bed sheets visible in the background. It was brief but clear, and a caption on the file. "Some vows break themselves, others break everyone around them." She didn't need to call Monica to know it had begun. That night, they met behind a liquor store in a half-empty parking lot. Monica's face was pale, her usual fire extinguished. "He did this," she said quietly. "Aaron's not just angry. He's methodical. I think he hired someone, maybe more than one. My landlord got a file emailed anonymously. Me and Logan. Me and Daniel. Stuff I didn't even know was recorded." Clara's voice cracked. "There are files on my laptop. He's been tracking everything, and now HR suspended me. They say they're looking into ethics violations. You told me this would be harmless. I told you it would be fun. You decided it was harmless. There's a difference. You said men always come around. That confidence works." Monica gave a bitter laugh. "I was wrong. Aaron's not like the others. He's surgical." The next day, Clara was summoned to the boardroom. For people waited, HR, legal, and a man she didn't recognize. Probably security. They offered her coffee. She refused. A thick file was placed in front of her. Screenshots, message logs, calendar entries, location data, cross-reference with company devices and office access times. "We believe this constitutes a conflict of interest, misuse of company resources, and a violation of the code of conduct," the HR rep said. Clara whispered, "How did you even get all this?" No one answered. Then the security man spoke. "We also received audio recordings from a third party." "Aaron?" she asked, barely audible. Still silence. They didn't fire her. Not yet. Said the matter was under review. But Clara knew what that meant. She left the room trembling. When she got home, her key didn't work. The locks had been changed. On the porch sat boxes, all her things neatly packed. Taped to one box was a note. "You lit the match. I simply watched it burn. Welcome to the freedom you wanted." She sank to the mat, knees buckling, surrounded by the wreckage of her life. Aaron wasn't cold. He was calculating. He hadn't screamed. He hadn't raged. He documented. Clara took the boxes to Monica's apartment. Monica said little as Clara paced. "Have you talked to Eli?" Clara asked. Monica didn't look up. "His wife kicked him out." Clara blinked. "His wife?" "He told me they were separated." Monica finally looked at her. That's what they all say when they want what they know they can't keep. Within days, Clara's name was trending, but not for anything she wanted. Screenshots from her messages started popping up online. Anonymous forums, social pages, clips and quotes and laughs and captions like, "So she cheats and wants sympathy?" He didn't even post anything. The silence. I felt that. Imagine losing a good man and cry on TikTok. She tried to post a video to explain. She lasted 2 minutes before the hate drowned her out. Aaron had never yelled, never once made a public move. But he didn't need to. He had turned her digital life into a quiet inferno. And Clara finally understood, revenge doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just waits, listens, documents, then moves in silence. By the time it speaks, it no longer needs to shout. The divorce paperwork had moved quickly. Aaron's lawyer, Talia Rohr, was infamous in the city. Icy, relentless and graceful in a way that made her cruelty feel clinical. She didn't need to raise her voice to wound. In the mediation room, Clara sat trembling as Talia laid out flatly. You're entitled to nothing. No house, no vehicle, no spousal support. We have witnesses, audio, a timeline, and most importantly, intent. Clara's voice faltered, but we were still married. He never told me to stop. Talia's eyes shimmered with cold triumph. He handed you the rope, Miss Vaughn. You tied the knot yourself. The hearing was brief. The judge barely acknowledged Clara. Aaron didn't speak. He didn't need to. There were texts, hotel receipts, timestamps, photographs, surveillance. The evidence told its own story. When he finally stood, his voice was measured, emotionless. My wife didn't cheat. She left our marriage. She wanted freedom. I gave it to her. And in return, she gave me clarity. I didn't lose a wife. I lost someone who never intended to stay. The room went silent. Clara looked at him. His face was unreadable, set like stone, not angry, just finished. That finality stung deeper than any rage. That night Clara checked into a low-end motel. Her phone buzzed. Monica, are you okay? Clara stared at the screen. No, she wasn't. She had lost her marriage, her home, her job, and what remained of her reputation. And still, some stubborn piece of her blamed Monica. You said it would feel empowering. You said men crawl back. Mine burned the bridge. No reply. Monica was probably busy putting out her own fires. Word was her husband had filed for full custody. Logan, the man from the office, had skipped town, like her chaos was contagious. Every man they touched seemed cursed. Clara couldn't sleep. She kept rereading Aaron's final message. You lit the match. I simply watched it burn. It played in her head like a warning drum. She drank to forget, but it didn't help. What haunted her most was Aaron's silence. No cruel messages. No drunken rants. No I told you so. Because he didn't need to say it. He'd already won. But revenge is rarely loud. It echoes. And sometimes, even victors leave cracks in the doorframe. The days became a blur. Rejected applications. Whispers in public places. Google searches that turned her name into a scandal. Clara became a cautionary tale. Aaron, meanwhile, disappeared into a new life. New town. Rumored business. Possibly dating. She couldn't bear to believe it. Part of her still clung to some faint, delusional hope that maybe, just maybe, there was a sliver of something left. 2 months later, she stood in a small dental office for a receptionist interview. The manager looked apologetic. I'll be honest with you, Clara, we Googled you. Clara's shoulders sagged. Of course. We don't believe everything online, but some of your former employers raised concerns. She nodded. Thank you for your time. With no job, no stability, and little left of her mental health, Clara wandered her old neighborhood. Their house, Aaron's house now, had been sold. It looked different. New siding, manicured lawn, fresh flowers. It had been scrubbed of her memory. But she hadn't come for the house. She had come for something that still eluded her. Closure. Aaron had never screamed, never pleaded, never begged. Just left. And that, more than any furious breakup, drove her mad. That silence was unbearable. One night, rain falling hard around her, Clara ducked into a local bookstore. A speaker was giving a talk on rebuilding your life after everything falls apart. She sat in the back, soaked and invisible. The words weren't soft or soothing. They hurt, but in a way that felt like cleansing fire. You can lose everything and still survive. But if you don't own your choices, you'll keep destroying every new beginning. Accountability isn't punishment. It's the foundation of your comeback. Clara exhaled sharply, like something inside her had cracked open at last. The next day, she wrote a letter. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't a plea. Just the truth. Aaron, you never gave me the fight I wanted. That silence was the worst pain I've ever felt. I won't defend what I did. I confused attention for love. I followed someone who worshipped destruction and called it freedom. But you didn't break me. I did that myself. And even in your quiet, calculated revenge, you showed more mercy than I deserved. I'm not asking for a reply. I just wanted you to know. Thank you for walking away instead of finishing me off, for letting me fall on my own rather than pushing, for showing me that silence can be the clearest answer of all. Clara, she mailed it to the address of his business. No return name. No expectations. Weeks passed. Nothing came. Then one evening, while volunteering at a women's shelter as part of her court-ordered restitution, Clara stepped out to get coffee from a nearby diner. A familiar pickup pulled into the lot. Same model. Same dent. She froze. Aaron stepped out, wearing the same worn boots he always did. He didn't look angry or cold, just still. "Hey, Clara," he said softly, like they hadn't burned each other to ash. Her throat closed. "Why are you here?" "I build things. The shelter's adding a new wing. They called me." She let out a small, stunned laugh. "Of course they did." He paused and added, "I got your letter." Her heart pounded. "I didn't think you'd write back." "I didn't plan to." He looked at her. "But I wanted to say something." She waited. "You were right," he said at last. "I didn't fight. Not because I didn't care. Because if I had, I wouldn't have stopped. And I didn't want to become something ugly just to prove a point." Tears pricked her eyes. "You already got even." Aaron gave a faint smile. "I didn't destroy you, Clara. I just let you see what you'd done." Silence fell between them. Not tense, just honest. "Are you happy now?" she asked. He looked at the shelter scaffolding, then back at her. "I'm healing," he said. "That's better than happy." She nodded. "Me too." And for a few seconds more, they stood there in the light rain. Two people who had set fire to everything, but somehow made it out of the smoke. Not whole, but still standing.